no regard or respect for rest, then I think they all should be exterminated. What is American Gangster about? Them American rest? Grateful and Alto and Nicky Bonds and Terry Bull, man, them rest.
Who is the real American gangster? In 2007, actor Denzel Washington starred in American Gangster, fictionalized film based on the career of a real-life convicted Harlem drug dealer, Frank Lucas. But Ike Atkinson, another convicted drug dealer, says he's the real American gangster and that he was behind some of the criminal innovations and success attributed to Lucas, including creating a drug pipeline between the U.S. and Thailand. He might be the most successful drug dealer in the history of the United States, said Atkinson, who estimates that during the 1970s, his drug operations smuggled nearly a ton of heroin into places like New York City, New Jersey, and Baltimore, Maryland. However, Lucas, who released a memoir called Original Gangster earlier this month, said Atkinson claimed to be the bigger crime figure is bogus. He's full of crap, said Lucas. He's just using my name to try and get publicity for his book. I was major. Check with the DEA. They'll tell you about what I did. But former special agent in charge, Louis Rice, who worked with the Drug Enforcement Administration New York Division from 1974 to 2001, says he prepared Lucas to testify against Harlem drug dealers and that Atkinson was a major dealer. He wasn't as well known and as flashy as Frank Lucas, but he was the boss. No questions, according to Rice, who also said that Lucas never went on the record saying that he smuggled drugs from Thailand. So let's get straight into it to see who was American's gangster.
That's worse. I mean, do you think there's a time in which it's good to cooperate?
Well, listen, let me tell you about that. I told you before, I never took the stand on nobody. Let me explain to you.
Well, some cases were made,
I don't care what
some cases were made.
There you go. There you go. I can't get it. Yeah, listen, wait, hey. Who am I talking to, you or him? Well, I can't talk to both of you at the same time. We got time, please. What I'm telling you is right now, I asked some remarks about what I did. Right. I said, yes, I asked some remarks about what I did.
Frank Lucas was an American rat who operated in Harlem during the late 1960s and early 1970s, who claimed he was buying heroin directly from the Golden Triangle in Southeast Asia. In January 1975, Lucas' house in Teaneck, New Jersey was raided by a task force led by authorities found $584,000 in cash, and he was later convicted of both federal and New Jersey state drug violations. In 1976, Lucas was convicted of drug trafficking to 70 years in prison.
Received a 40-year sentence and then a 30, and he appealed it. The conviction, I believe, was in 76, and the appeal was turned down, and at that point he was looking at 70 years, and he approached the United States Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York to see if he could get a reduction in the sentence by cooperating. And that's when I became personally involved with him.
He then became a government informant, entering the Witness Protection Program and helping the DEA with more than 100 drug-related convictions.
We would let him out on the street to cooperate, to try to drum up business, if you will. He had a knack, like I said before, for convincing people. He worked the phones all day long while in jail, trying to convince people on the street that he would never give them up. Would they meet one of his people who would be an undercover DEA?
His sentence was reduced to 5 years for his corporation. In 1984, Frank Lucas was caught and convicted of trying to exchange 1 ounce of heroin and $13,000 for 1 kilogram of cocaine. He received a sentence of 7 years and was released in 1991. Leroy Nicky Barnes was an American rat and a heroin crime boss active in New York City during the 1970s. In 1972, Barnes formed the Council, a 7-man African American organization crime syndicate that controlled a significant part of the heroin trade in Harlem.
Was the biggest drug dealer in New York.
You ever kill anybody?
No.
Had other people do it for you?
I guess I would best describe it, yeah. Yeah.
It was while Barnes was in prison that he suspected that the two main women in his life were sleeping with his former business partners. How could he get even? Testify against his old pals, put them in prison, become a hero to the feds. 1 year after his indictment, Leroy Nicky Barnes was convicted and sentenced to life without parole. It was while Barnes was in prison that he suspected that the two main women in his life and were sleeping with his former business partners, thus violating the code of honor that he says existed on the street.
A very attractive woman. And in New York, there are several million eligible men. Now, I told her that we have a hands-off policy to about 20 of them.
I can't think of them. They were other friends of mine that were supposed to be doing this, you know. Yeah. And they're doing things against me, really. And I have no way to reach out and get to them, and I want to get back at them.
Tell me what it is you have in mind.
They were a couple of friends of mine that were supposed to be doing things for me, you know.
Yeah.
And well, they're doing things against me, really. And I have no way to reach out and get to them, and I want to get back at them, Billy. That's my primary reason.
Were you surprised that he was going to do it?
I was surprised that a person like Nicky Barnes would do it.
When it comes to testifying, I testified against the guys who were Archbishop Frank James, Wally, Coco, Kenny, and you know, a couple other guys, because I said that as far as Guy Fisher was concerned, I made a woman of mine that I expected to look out for. I expected to take care of her. I didn't expect them to start fucking.
Guy Fisher, who had a brief affair with Barnes' former girlfriend, Shemeka, was a member of that 7-man drug council, according to Barnes. Fisher is now serving life without parole after Barnes testified against him.
You mean to tell me you can give someone a life sentence because you said he had sex with my girlfriend?
And he's putting people behind bars, helping to make cases for the feds.
There is no justice in terms of that. Oh, man. I mean, 8 years ago, Nick was the scum of the earth in terms of court, being in the courtroom, in Judge Workers' court. And then 3 years ago, he became Robin Hood because he was telling. It's really sad, you know. I'm laughing, but it's sad.
I expected him because what I was asking to do was just a small thing. What he had with it.
Barnes became a federal informant. He forwarded a list of 109 names. 5 of them were council members, along with his wife's name, implicating them all in illegal activities related to the heroin trade.
And Barnes began to snitch on his fellow inmates as well. Inside prison, Barnes learned about illegal activities that he described to prison authorities.
I'm a bookmaker, and right now on camera I want to lay you 9 to 5 that Nicky Barnes, Leroy Barnes, gets out of jail.
New York gangster Hercules were in prison together in New York, and they worked out a drug deal at Barnes' suggestion that eventually resulted in the conviction of Sperling's son.
I'm doing the same sentence that Nicky Barnes was doing, life parole, without parole. I've got it the longest in the country. It's worse than a death sentence. A death sentence, you're dead, life goes on. Here you linger, and sometimes people get depressed. Some people get so depressed that they decide to make up a story.
You think he's going to get out?
There's no doubt in my mind the government has to let him out. It's part of their propaganda ploy. What they're saying is anybody that wants to get out, just make up stories about a lot of people. We got plenty of room. We got a lot of prisons. We'll replace them with you and we'll let you out. No matter what you did, no matter what you do.
Mickey Barnes turned government informant and began to tell all he knew. And because his testimony helped put 50 other people in prison, there are those in government who say he should be pardoned. Among the people he informed on were his former drug colleagues. How did he feel testifying against them?
I was overwhelmed by guilt. I was overwhelmed by guilt. I had every reason to testify against them and no reason at all to feel guilty. And I started crying on the stand.
From guilt.
Yeah.
And emotion.
I couldn't talk.
Barnes testified about his secret 7-member drug council composed of the most successful black heroin dealers in New York, some of whom attended this birthday party for Barnes in the middle 70s. According to Barnes, they shared an oath of brotherhood and loyalty to...
Tonight, our reporter Brian Ross has found that the familiar organized mob, or mafia, now has some competition, particularly in the business of smuggling and selling hard drugs, competitors who use their merchandise into this country.
The North Carolina mob is run by men who know a lot about the military. 10 of the top men in this organization are former sergeants in the Army or the Air Force. Federal authorities identify this man as the head of the North Carolina mob. Leslie Ike Atkinson, Goldsboro, North Carolina, former Master Sergeant, United States Army.
The first major African-American drug dealer to work independently of La Cosa Nostra. Ike moved about $400 million worth of heroin from Asia to the U.S. Frank Lucas lied.
Goldsboro, North Carolina, former Master Sergeant, United States Army. Martin Perry directed the formation of the North Carolina mob. Perry says law enforcement officials were slaves of this new mob because its leaders are black, not mafia members.
To start working on these upstarts, on these new people, wasn't interesting because you got the most mafia guy who had been memorialized as a bad guy from way back.
Is this network of black, non-commissioned military officers still active today?
Oh, yes, I would say so.
This is black organized crime?
Yes, and that's exactly what it is.
There are organized crime operations, but never at the top. This takes out much of the heroin business for itself, and authorities say it is beginning to use its well-disciplined organization to compete with the areas of criminal activity. The North Carolina mob is this country's newest organized crime.
He lied about the cadaver heroin connection.
Out in my mind, I know exactly how it got started. And I know the person that started it. And I also know who involved the DEA in this and the Customs Service. And that person was Frank Lucas. And how it came about was, I have this guy, the Leon Ellis, in Bangkok to do the furniture for me because I don't want to hire no ties to do it. While Frank was visiting me, I took him to Thailand for 5 days. While he was doing that, he came and he saw Leon Ellis out in the backyard, and before I could get downstairs good, he's out there talking to Leon Ellis. And when he asked Leon, "What in the world are you doing in Thailand?" I busted in and said that he's making coffee. That's where Frank Lucas decided in his mind that we was bringing drugs in the coffee. He ain't bought no drugs no damn well. I fed him a story about Leon, and now he's trying to capitalize on it.
Frank Lucas also lied about what happened in Bangkok.
I had him using my company card He can't go nowhere without him. I put him to sleep. I wake him up. I put him on the plane. I help him get his passport. I paid for everything. I paid for his visa. Man was going to give him no visa. He had the record of one. That's why I told his wife, Shorty, and I don't remember Shorty and Wade, my aunt, but they, my nephew, they were there. I told them to wait out here. I take Frank in first. I paid $100 to the embassy to give him a visa because of what his record was at the time.
Lucas also lied about his relationship with La Casa Nostra. Two Italian mobsters visit Ike at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary.
Two Italians stepped out of the thing. Looking at me funny. I'm looking at them funny. What the hell's going on? So I just kept right on walking, picked the pace up towards my office, and got behind the glass. And one of them asked me just before I go in, he said, "Are you Ike?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, my name is such a very nice guy, but you know, look very nice, but." And the other introduced himself and everything. They said, "What you talk to?" I said, "Yeah, come on in my place in here. I got my friends in here too. I'm in here behind the glass. Everybody can see me. Everything happens. You can't come up and see." And so we get in to talk, and they come in, huddle around and everything. They say, Frank, Frank. I said, "Yeah, Frank." I said, "What?" He said, "Frank owes us $50,000, and he said, for us to get it from you, you would give it to us. When get out."
So there you have it, Leslie Ike Atkinson, born November the 19th, 1925, passed away November the 11th, 2014, was a U.S. Army Master Sergeant and convicted drug trafficker. He is believed to have been a major figure in smuggling heroin into the United States from Southeast Asia from about 1968 to 1975. Atkinson's downfall came in 1975. A shipment of heroin was due to arrive at two addresses in Fayetteville, North Carolina, each belonging to elderly Black women. An Army serviceman would come to pick up the shipments, saying it had been accidentally mailed to the wrong address. The plan had worked before, but this time, one woman contacted the postal authorities. The other, fearing she had been sent a bomb, contacted the police. The police found Atkinson's palm prints on one of the heroin bags, and he was arrested on January the 19th, 1975, in his home in Goldsboro. He was convicted the following year and was sentenced to 31 years in prison. Atkinson was released in 2007.
Ain't none of it true. Locals never smuggled any drugs from Thailand, from nowhere. He brought his drugs from, and I met him through my nephew. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I was shocked when I was doing my 30, when I was on between my 31st and my 32nd year confinement that I did straight.
Flat, 32 years in penitentiary.
Right. A friend of mine sent me a book. And on that book, franklucas has virtually invented. Everything that I did, he done. But he wouldn't tell it like that. He was saying that's what you did. You haven't done any of it. Now, Frank used to buy drugs from me. Frank bought drugs from me about 3 straight years. And before that, he got them from my nephew. He was also from North Carolina.
Yeah, were you friends with Nicky Barnes?
I met Nicky Barnes at the Marion Penitentiary in August 1975.
Right.
We was together in Marion, and Nicky and I was together at Terre Haute. We both know each other. I don't want to get into this thing too deep with Nicky for the simple reasons that I understand. I was at Terre Haute watching him walk out the gate with the agents. What I have to say is this. Frank's a damn liar. Anything he said about Nicky, anything he said about the drugs, it just And if he think it is, let him sit. And I got some witnesses.